Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to do a French toast, but I'm going to show you how to get a nice crispiness to the French toast. So one of the best things about French toast, of course, is you have that custardy interior, but then when you match it with a nice crispy crust, I think it just elevates the entire thing. So let me go ahead and show you how all of that works. Alright, so I have the heat on to 6 just to heat up the pan. I'm probably going to move it back down to 5. Actually, I am going to move it back down to 5, but right now it's on 6 just to heat this pan up a little bit faster. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to put in some butter. So for the bread, okay, so I'm going to put in a nice bit of butter. I'd say at least half a tablespoon to start with. I may put a little bit more after, but I think we'll start with that. So for the bread, you can use, whatever bread you want. I happen to have this because I wanted to try it. And it's that. It's supposed to be pumpkin spice. I don't taste any pumpkinness whatsoever.
Disappointed!
But still good. It just doesn't taste like pumpkin. So we'll get a couple slices of that, and then while this is melting, now I do have to soak the bread. So what I'm doing is I'm just melting the butter a little bit. Put a little bit more. And I'm actually going to turn off the pan for now. So I'm going to let that slowly melt. I don't want it to burn. And actually, while I'm doing that, I'm going to add some sugar. So I'm only adding about, I'm going to do 1 and about a half spoonfuls of sugar. And then I'm going to set that, well, not aside, it's going to sit there, but I'm going to watch it. I'm going to make sure it doesn't start burning. I just want the sugar to start heating up. And then in the meantime, for French toast, obviously you need the batter, so it's just going to be an egg. I'm going to put a little bit of vanilla. I never really know how much to put in there. You'd think this day and age they would have came up with a better way to store vanilla in these little glass bottles that always leak everywhere when you try to pour it, but fortunately not. So I got an egg, I got vanilla, and then I have milk. I'm only doing 2 slices, so I'm not going to put a lot of milk. It's probably not even a quarter cup. And I'm also going to put just a touch of cream. Just a little touch. And then you can start to see a pattern on this channel. I'm going to put some zest. So I'm going to put lemon zest. And I'm going to put some orange zest. Alright, so now I'm just going to mix that up by hand. And that's how it looks. And then just put the bread in there. Make sure everything's coated. Now I'm going to give this time to soak in. So the butter's melted, the sugar's starting to warm up, and then the bread is soaking. Now, if you don't like it very custardy, you can just lightly soak it. I like mine more on the custardy side, so I'm actually going to leave it there for a bit, and then I'll come back. Alright, so the bread has been soaking. I went ahead and turned this on a couple minutes ago. So now we have the butter starting to go a little bit golden. And I'm just going to take the bread, which is nice and soggy. I'm going to put it right in the pan. And just put that on top, let it soak in. Okay. The goal here is to make sure that the butter or the sugar starts melting into a syrup. Now, what you can do is put the sugar in first, heat that up, maybe add a little bit of water to get it started, and then put the butter in. That's fine. I'm always a little cautious about hot, watery syrup and then adding a fat like butter. Sometimes you get some sizzle a little more than you want, and still maybe get a little bit of a burn from the fat and the water not mixing. But you know, if you want to do that, you know, that should be okay. So the bread doesn't extremely matter. So French toast in French is called pain perdu, and that means lost bread. And the idea is you take bread that normally would get thrown away, and you make French toast out of it. Now, the issue I've had with that is if it's too crusty, like you use like a baguette or something that's very crusty, what happens is it just doesn't absorb because it's already too, I don't know, I guess it's too crusty to begin with. I guess you can make anything soggy, but I find that it just doesn't really absorb well. It'll absorb, you know, the first layer, but then the inside will still be just bread, unless you want to do it overnight or something weird like that. So, you know, you could do that. I mean, theoretically, it's meant to use up old bread, so yeah, you can use any kind of bread that you want. But I find that just for convenience, because let's face it, most of us aren't trying to salvage that last bit of bread. You know, we're not pioneers or anything, so just using normal bread works fine, and it's quicker, it absorbs a little faster. So now what I'm going to do is just change those around to make sure they get evenly browned. What I find interesting is when you eat this bread normally, it doesn't taste like anything, but then when you cook it, all the cinnamon starts coming out. So it tastes a lot like cinnamon bread and not at all like pumpkin. So if you're looking to get your pumpkin fix, this isn't it. And again, this is the Pepperidge Farms brand, which is really good, you know, as far as their bread goes. I mean, I like their other breads, but this pumpkin, this is not. And I'm going to take a little peek here. Oh yeah, that's what we want. So now the sugar has caramelized on the bottom. Of the bread, and it's made a nice, you can't, let's see if you can hear it here. I don't know if you can hear it just yet, but there's a nice crust. I have it on 5 for the heat, so 5 out of 9. My stove goes from low to high, which is 1 to 9, and I have it on 5. And that's pretty good. I don't know if I would go more than that, because you want to give things time to develop a nice crust. Too high and you'll just start to burn. And remember that this is nice and soaked, you know, the way I did it. There's a lot of batter soaked in. So if you do it too fast, the inside doesn't cook and you just get soggy batter rather than a nice custardy texture. So once again, I'm just going to change this around just to make sure everything gets evenly cooked. And I can hear it. I don't know if you guys can. Let's see. But it's a nice crust. It really elevates French toast, which is good on its own, you know, without this, but having that nice crusty texture is just so good. All right. So that's what the other side looks like. Go ahead and turn that off. And that's what we have. All right, so that's the final product, and I'm gonna try to let you hear the crust here. And that's that nice sugary crust on the outside. So top it with whatever you would like. Find the maple syrup maybe a little too much sweetness, but you know, you can put whatever you like, I guess. Enjoy.